right. Welcome everyone to Changing of the Hip Hop Guards. I am your host, Uncle E. That's my partner, the journalist Sincere. And today we have none other than Elder Sensei. Some of you might know of him from the group Artifacts. Today we're going to get into the anniversary of their second album. So, Elder Sensei, thank you for joining us, man. It's a pleasure.
Peace, y'all. Peace. Thanks for having me. Peace,
no
everybody.
No problem. Thank you. Before we get into talking about that classic album, man, if you could do us a favor and take us back a little bit for those who may not know of you, or maybe they forgot all about who Elder Sensei is. Who and where are you from?
All right, my name is Elder Sensei. I'm from the group Artifacts, which consists of 3 members, minus one. My man Tame One, DJ Chaos, may he rest in peace. I come from Newark, New Jersey. I come from where Redman come from, Naughty by Nature, Lords of the Underground, Queen Latifah, Lakim Shabazz, you name it, we all been here. And today I come to y'all as still an artist in the game, whether it be independent or major. I'm still active. My first album with Tane was called Between the Rock and the Hard Place, and the 25th anniversary for that stem is Among Us. And there's a lot of stories with that album, which was, I think, ahead of its time.
Nice. So tell us a little bit about how you guys met up and even started to, form the group Artifacts.
Well, me and Tame had mutual friends growing up. My man Polo Ice, my man Jay Byrne. Jay Byrne went to school with me. I always knew of Tame just seeing his name on the streets. I didn't know he was a MC so much until I got with people that knew him. And I got down with a crew called Boss Mob, my man CMZ, Rhino CMZ. We had a crew, it was like a juice crew, consisted of different artists. And I went to his crib a couple of times. I saw Tame's name up there. Jay Byrne told me that he, do demos with him. So I started doing demos, and one day he came up there and I was there, and that was it. We was off in the races from there once we met.
Okay. And what about the name Artifact? How you guys came up with that?
Artifact's name came because when we went to the label and had our first meeting, and they asked the name of the group, because we only did Stretch and Bobbito show as far as anything to have a reference to go off. So we told them that's them, and they didn't like that's them. So we was like, okay, so we going home on the train. I'm thinking about, everything that we already do as far as graffiti. We still, was active B-boys and just, we both DJ. Like elementally, we do everything. So it was like, okay, what word can sum that up? So we on the train and we kind of like defeated because they told us they didn't like the name. So we start getting home close to Penn Station, and I'm like, okay, I just said Artifacts. It just came out. And we was like, I don't know. So back then, we knew what the word meant, but we had to see it in writing. And back then, it wasn't no Google. So we got home, we in the dictionary, we in the encyclopedia book. We know what it means, but how can we put it with, to attribute to hip hop? Right. So we was like, okay, we still do B-boy. Like I said, everything I just said. And the word artifact means anything from modern, ancient times brought to new times for studying, for analyzation, culture, and that just went immediately with what we was already doing. So we came back to the label and we said Artifacts, and they was like, okay. So we had to go on the computer and go online and look and see if it was another hip hop group with that name. We was in that office all night. So we really not, it was certain things, Jared Leto got a group that he rocked with called Artifact. And people who saw that, I saw it too, but people were like, what's going on with this? I see, but that's rock music. And they're called The Artifacts, and we're called just Artifacts. So it was a lot of stuff that went on with getting that name even incorporated.
Okay. Being that you guys did graffiti and everything, did you guys do the artwork for it also?
No, my man, this guy named Dante. Now, Dante, he had a company called Third Rail back in the day. It was a clothing company out of California. And for anybody that know of that t-shirt company, he had a lot of different designs, but the Third Rail logo if you see that the same letters as the Artifacts logo. So he did a lot of artwork for artists, as far as like different logos back in the 90s. He did a lot of maybe all the Cypress Hill album covers all the way up to Black Sunday. So, you know, now he's like a director of independent films. My man get busy now, you know, but like back then he told us that he could do the 12-inch cover like the way he said, with our faces on the train and the background. We like, all right, whatever. So one day he sent us the email, and this is like early Yahoo, you know, we get the email, and I'm looking at this picture like, how the hell? So my man actually showed us, he broke it down. He did a whole wall with the artifacts as you see it on the cover. But when he did it, he had pictures of Snoop on and somebody else on the other side of on the train. So we was like, well, how the hell did you? And when we saw the finished version, just from what he did, I was like, so I'm gonna put y'all faces instead of him. But I just want to show you a little. So we was like, damn. So this is early Photoshop.
Right,
wasn't nobody doing nothing like that. A lot of people to this day still think that number 2 train is real on that cover. Until I tell them that they be like, oh my God, don't tell me that. I was like, yeah, bro, like, it is Photoshop. So look at the windows in the train, look at a lot of the tags, you know. So my man he looked at it, he was like, oh, you just changed my whole childhood right there. I was like, no, you good. Because we never told anybody that we actually did that train. So it was just the whole mystique of it, you know, and the look. It wasn't really nothing like it at the time.
Right. My first introduction to you guys was through the Nubian Crackers. Was that the first time for you guys on wax?
Yeah, actually, because the label wanted us to, you know, have some kind of introduction. And thanks to Nubian Crackers, we went to Queens, went to their studio, knocked that joint out. You know, we was kind of like, not nervous, but we knew this was actually a record about to come out. And we did a lot off that record. You know, that record took us a little bit everywhere. We got to do actually a lot of, as far as label events where they came to going to colleges and things like that. Went to a lot of radio stations early. So that record did a lot for us. And I appreciated them for that, because they put us on their record because they knew we had just got signed.
Right. Take us back a little bit, though. What other labels were you guys interested in, and what was it about Big Beat that was so appealing?
Well, to tell you the truth, there weren't any other labels. You know, we went to Stretch and Bob and went up there and did what we had to do. Just so happened, Stretch Armstrong worked at Big Beat. We knew Bobbito worked at Def Jam just from his conversations on the air. So once Tame called up the radio show and he did a freestyle, he got on the air on the phone, and the prize was to come to the station. So I had to do the same thing the next week, and they say, look, y'all good already. Just come up. And, you know, we went up there on a Thursday. We got a ride up there. We went and met them at Columbia University. And just for 15 minutes, we just blacked out. Like, they threw on that Zulu War Chant record. And, you know, it's something that we normally do on stage, but we just did it at the radio show. So people was calling up, and they looking at us like, they know we come from Jersey, and they didn't understand that, you know, at the time, that 2 dudes from Jersey sounded like us, you know, despite other artists that had came out before us. But it was different because a lot of people thought we was from New York anyway when we first came out. So I think that with the artists that came out of New Jersey, and with me and Tane talking about graffiti, you know, it was a lot different than a lot of the stuff that they probably knew of. So we were truly like underground dudes for real. You know, we knew about the radio station before we came up there, even when he was Skinny Bones instead of Stretch Armstrong. So, you know, just going up there was a privilege to us. And like I said, all these things just started to happen. Rob Tulo was an A&R at Big Beat, and he was friends with Stretch. You know, we went to Big Beat, and we met Rob, and just we saw the connection with him and Stretch, and knowing Bobbito was a part of all of this. It was a lot of things that was connected to what we had originally did as far as going up to the radio station. So it made it easier for us to go there. It was the first choice. Not that we had a lot of people, you know, looking for us, but it was just that immediately when they heard us, it had to go. So it was like we didn't have to go through the listen to my demo stage of being in the industry or anything like that. A bunch of contracts signed where we was regretful or anything. So all the stuff that happened all went into alignment and alignment with people that we knew already.
Right. Did you guys make Unsigned Hype in the source?
Yeah, we did. We did. You know, thank my man Matty C. And like I said, these things were all connected. You know, Matty rocked out with stretching them too, and Bobito and Rob. But it was through Reef and through Stretch and Bob that they all heard us, you know, after this one night. So just the buzz was going. And I would say after that is when the Unsigned Hype started happening, because Matty knew what we was about to do. And he know through Rob. So it was like, okay, let's get him in here. So, you know, even with that, Matty's still my man. I see him from time to time. You know, that's a privilege, you know, to even be in that, because not a lot of they stopped the Unsigned Hype after a while. So the people that are in the alumni, you know, there's a lot of heavy hitters in Unsigned Hype.
Yeah, I think we had Prodigal, Mobb Deep, who was
right. Common was in there.
Common, Biggie.
Yeah, Biggie. Yeah.
DMX.
Capone Noriega was in there.
Okay. I just wanted to ask you, do you remember going up to the Stretch and Bobito show? What was that experience like being there, you know, in the moment?
You know, in the moment then was the early stages of their starting, you know, but a lot of people was there before us. We knew going there that was the place to go. You know what I'm saying? Like, we knew hearing of this place and just listening to the radio station, we knew, you know, Tame even knew we had to be up there. If it wasn't for him calling first, we wouldn't even have been up there. So it just so happened to be that we impressed them so much, you know, that it happened to work out that way. You know, but
was it wild and fun up there?
It was like it wasn't like how it is now. I mean, how we knew it to be with the jokes and stuff like that. It was like this was early, just Stretch playing records, and it was like little breaks here and there in between. You know, even being there, we waited for, but we got there kind of early, so we was like, damn, this should go on till 5. Like, okay, so we didn't know when we was going on. So pretty much after like the first hour, we started talking and stuff like that, and then we got into the freestyle, and it was like, whoa, okay. So like, you know, after that, we became friends with them, and we kept going up there. That's how we met Souls of Mischief and Hieroglyphics and Pep Love and them, you know, Curious George. You know, we started meeting all these guys. So it was like more or less like a family thing after a while, because Bobito had a management company called Hit You Off. So we all, after a while, we got signed, and the same people, Curious, us, Hard to Obtain, KMD, we were all together, you know, and this was all Bob's friends. So at the time, I think the show was like getting to a point where people knew to listen, you know, especially after a while. Every week, certain people was going up there. So we became one of the kind of first to be like regulars, you know, where we actually, you know, from just being up there, we got a deal.
We're definitely here to talk about the sophomore album, but briefly, how long did it take to make your debut album of Between the Rock and the Hard Place?
Now that process, I can't say totally time-wise how long it took, but I know the one song that took the longest to do was Way Back. So we got my man T-Ray produced that. I would say with that song, we went back and forth on it just to get certain things right on that song. So granted, that being the one song that was paying homage to our beginning, it did take a long time to get that one done. You know, majority of everything else was kind of fast. A lot of the songs we did with T-Ray. So we had one main producer other than Buck Wild, and Redman did one, Coming Through Your Block, which was a treat because there's not a lot of production out there with Redman credits by itself. You know, like probably us and Mother Superior out in Miami. Besides the things he do on his own, so like that was dope. Rockwaller was there at the same time.
Wow.
So yeah, I can't. I say probably a year. It didn't take long.
Okay. Overall highlight of your debut album.
Highlight was definitely Wrong Side of the Tracks. Because as a single, I don't think people would have probably expected us with all the records that we had on the album. We knew from the album listening party we had Source Mag. It was a lot of magazines there, Source, Bob, Rap Pages, and when it got to that song, every time it was over, everybody would rewind it. So the label rep was there and was like, well, I guess we know what the single gonna be. So it was pretty much like we didn't think that a song about graffiti would make Me and Tame famous in the underground world or in radio, period. For that to be the subject matter of the song, still to this day, people come to Me and Tame and say how much they used to go pay into that song, and still to this day, how much they give them the chills when they hear the horns come in and the bass line. And I've actually gotten to talk to the Night Creation group members who actually where we sampled it from. So this has been a ride that we didn't know we would take off of one song that would set up a background for us to be solo artists as well, pretty much off this one song. So that song to me, and there's a lot of other songs on that record, but if I had to sum up Me and Tame's career, that Come On With the Get Down, the remix for that with Busta, we got Busta like fresh out of Leaders of the New School and before Everything Remains Raw. So like, to this day, he still knows that we made that record with him, and we thank him for that because we didn't have to be one of the first groups for him to do a feature with, after getting out of being in the group. Right. And I remember even how we even got to that point where he wanted to be on the song. So he just said, if y'all ever do a remix for this song, I want to be on it. And he kept his word. Even with the paper we paid him to do it, he said he was there. He was there.
In the creating process of that album, was there another song besides that one that you guys thought was going to be the one?
Probably Come On With the Get Down. Dynamite Soul was up there with being a single. That's why I became the third single. And even doing the remix with Mass Skills, we knew the drive of that song and the drums and everything. We knew that could potentially be, a single, but probably not the first, out of 1 and 2. But Come On To Get Down, definitely. And that's why, that hook was kind of infectious to a lot of people. I still can't tell you why Busta said he wanted to be on it, but he wanted on and we got him on. But it's just that with all of those songs we made, we never knew which one was gonna be the one. Okay. We just knew we had to make a record that was pretty much what our life was before we got the deal, and we wanted to tell those stories on the first outing, and it happened, and a lot more. We got to tour a lot, off that first record, and just to see people like us, people that felt like we was like them, would come to the shows and feel we was approachable, and to a point where they understood that this is more than just us making records. We are just like y'all. We do graffiti, we break dance, we scratch records, we bleed, just like them. But at the same time, they see themselves in us, because of that. So that's the dope part about even this whole shit about what we're doing.
Spoke a tour in just a moment ago. Give us your favorite lineup during those times, during that first album.
We had a massive tour with it was called the Best of the Underground Tour. It was us, Beat Nuts, Common Sense, Organized Confusion, and we was going all upstate. We was in Boston, Providence, Rhode Island. We was all through there. I mean, like, we did Chicago. We had to get off the tour because of mechanical reasons with the van and everything. But that for the parts that we was in DC, this tour was crazy. We got to see Rock Raider and Mr. Sinister DJ in one night together, you know, for different groups, you know, and would sound like the records. You know, I seen Raider do stuff I never saw him do on stage, and to know that he was DJing for us and Showbiz and AG, so we were sharing him as a DJ with another group until he said, "Yo, I'm about to go do this DMC, and I'm about to win this battle." And we watched him do that, and then the Executioners, you know, may he rest in peace as well. Raider was a good guy, man. Like, you know, I have a good relationship with AG because of Raider. You know, that's why Showbiz wanted to work with us. You know, we got to do the remix with him, you know, because we pretty much got to work with every DITC member except Diamond, you know, and that's going to happen. We've done other things, but not a production from him. But you know, a lot of these things, I just, you never know what's going to happen, but you never know you're going to do a lot of that stuff either. So touring wise, you know, we are definitely liked in Europe. We over there a lot. You know, we do a lot of tours, mostly like Germany. You know, I remember like I've done a lot of shows with a lot of artists. Craig G, that's my man. Edo G, me and Sadat. You know, it's not a one place that we go where it's like you going to the same club but a different venue, but different people, but you still hear the same music. You know, and then you run into people on tour. Like we run into Onyx. We in the same city as them. We not performing in the city, but we come to their show. So they're just like, "Oh wow, what y'all doing here?" Like we got on tour too. We got off days and we coming to check y'all out. And then they bring us on stage with them when they doing their show. So it's you know, it's fun to do that stuff like that. You see each other on the road and you respect what everybody's doing, especially when you're doing big shows like festivals and everything. And in Europe, hip hop camp, that's when you see a little bit of everybody, and you get to see a lot of people's shows that you probably wouldn't have saw on the regular. So that's the best part about touring. You know, you be in a place where you know you're not in the hood, but you know you American. So you're like, all right, you from where you from? Like, you know, you've heard of these dudes and everything like that, but when you in a place like this, you know, a place like that in a different country, you more liable to be more friends when maybe sometimes you be just passing by. So a lot of ties get made when you're on tour as well.
You mentioned about Rock Raider, and then you said that he, you know, later on went on to do the DMC and Executions. How did you guys meet Rock Raider to have him DJ for you?
Okay, Rock Raider used to be in the studio with Buck. So when we met Buck Wild in the studio, he had his SP there, and I guess, you know, I figured Raider just do all the cuts for him if he do production. So whether if it was, you know, in the past, a lot of records that he had, beats that he did with cuts in the background, Raider did them. A lot of people probably didn't know. So we heard of Raider, you know, just, you know, being him on DMC tapes and stuff like that, just hearing his name. And I'm like, okay, this Rock Raider. And Raider was at the time, you know, small dude. You know, Raider, and I'm like, this the Daily Cut guy? So Raider was well, he was cool as hell. So he came to the studio. I got to be friends with him. You know, Raider did cuts on all the Artifact songs up until after Dynamite Show. So after Dynamite Show, it was DJ Chaos. Right? We actually got him to be in the group with us and had him as an official member. So, you know, Raider, you know, that's how he did a lot of cuts on the record. You know, after a while, we was like, bring Raider with you, or I will go to his crib and go pick him up, or call him myself. You know, and that's how we had him on the road with us as well. And at the time, sometimes I didn't even know he was DJing for Showbiz and AG. So he would, you know, and this was like Goodfellas was being made, and Raider was like, "Yo, I told y'all, man, they fuck with y'all." I was like, "Oh, hi." I was like, "What you talking about?" He said, "I talk about y'all a lot." So I hear the Goodfellas album, and I hear this AG. So come on with the Get Down. I'm like, "Oh, you're right, you're right, you're right." And A is my man. That is like one of my closest friends in this business. You know, there's not a lot of rappers you may meet or know, but this guy is very genuine and straight up. And he's my man.
So once that debut album does its thing, there's a 3-year gap in between 94 to 97, your sophomore album. What is the game plan and what's going on in those 3 years with the Artifacts?
We was touring in those 3 years. You you know, we knew we had to do another record. We really didn't have a game plan for anything, but we knew we wanted different beats than what we had on the first record. And then comes in Sean J. Period. And Sean J. used to come to our sessions with T-Ray, and I knew him and T-Ray was friends, so they would work together sometimes. But he would always come to the lab, and he would always tell me, like, one day, I'm gonna have some stuff for y'all. So I was like, cool. So when we started the album, you know, we listened to B-Nuts, and we had VIC on as one of the producers early. You know, we pretty much started the record with his 2 songs, you know, The Interview, and, you know, we was just like, we had another song called What that actually made it to be on the Brick City Kids B-side of a white label that Rawkus eventually wound up putting out as one of their first records. So we had VIC, and he pretty much, you know, at the time we only had the interview track, and then later he gave us the other joint. So we was like, okay, with this one, we not really gonna have no hook. We just gonna rhyme straight. That was just maintain mentality at first. When we did the What song, it had singing on it and everything. We was like, I don't know if we ready for that. You know, the fans that we have right now, I don't know if they ready to hear, you know, singing on what we doing. So we wound up putting that on the shelf. But later we found out people liked it when it came out on the white label. I was like, whoa. So that was different. But Sean J, you know, when he would come to the studio, he pretty much like would have his beats, like say he would have a tape. He played me a couple of joints, and anything that I liked was like number 2, number 4, maybe number 6. So the first couple of tracks, Artifacts, Where Your Skills At, you know, when we heard the tape, it was just like these even numbers were the ones that we was picking. So every time he came to the studio, I would notice that beat number 2 was dope, number 4 was dope, number 6 was dope. So I asked him after a while, I was like, yo, are you doing this on purpose where every time when you come, it's like number 2 is dope and 4? And he said, yeah, I thought you would probably pick up on that. I said, yo, because like every tape you giving us, like all the beats that was dope was on these numbers. And then it got to number 8, and that's when I checked him on it and I saw what he was doing. So he was like, that's what I felt y'all was doing the most. So I kept it on that formula. I was like, well, that was clever because it worked. So Sean was a different guy, man. Sean would bring stuff to the studio to record with, weather vane, rain stick, you know, grits in a season jar seasoning, you know, the grits in there as a shaker. He brought a refrigerator rack to the studio once. He put a microphone inside a garbage can and started the car that was in the garage, and it backfired. So whatever noise it was making, he turned that into a sound. I was like, damn, my man, you know, so he was very, very like eclectic with his sounds. But, you know, this is the reason why Mos Def was working with him after us, you know, in Boot Camp and Helter Skelter and Smith & Wesson, because we knew this dude had a sound that was like totally different, you know, and that's why he did the majority of it. So we got 7 joints for him. We did 7 songs with Sean J. Period in 2 weeks. And that's when we knew we were different on the second album than we were on the first album. And we were able to lock the studio out and not have nobody coming in and bother us, to just be us in there working. You know, I would say one of the funny parts was with the High School High soundtrack. You know, we didn't know this thing was going on, but they were waiting for us to make a song to put on the soundtrack. And when we got the Ultimate, you know, we didn't know that was the song that was gonna make the soundtrack. But when we made it and we heard the beat, we knew. But it was just funny how that song came to be, because even when we got to the hook, we recorded the whole song, and my man was like, something's missing, something missing. Now this is a time where you couldn't just, you know, go in anything and pull up the file, go on YouTube, pull up Ultimate 3 MCs, Ultimate.
Right,
So he was like, he ran all the way back uptown, got on the train, ran all the way back to his crib, got the vinyl, brought the vinyl back to the studio, and we looped it in the hook. And, you know, I always laugh at that, because how we can just do that easily today.
Yeah,
when he had to go back uptown. We was downtown. My man was on Broadway and like and almost like Canal Street. So he had to get on the train right there and go on the one train all the way up to 102nd Street and come all the way back. And but he came back fast. But that song got done. You know, it's just that songs that was on that record, you know, we made it was very personal, but we went back in time a little bit to do some of those songs too.
Right.
Yeah, but you got to admit, even though it sounds like a pain in the ass to do what you just said, it kind of gives it a little bit more, meaning to have
Oh
to
yeah,
go through those, an hour uptown, an hour back, get it,
right. It made it
you
dope too because we ain't had to go, so
know.
we had to just wait. We ordered more food and just chilled out, and wait for him to come, rolled another joint up, and this thing. We just waited for him. But when he said it to me, I thought it was interesting because I didn't like even hear that in my mind. But when he
Right.
said it, and then he said, "Yo, I will be right back." When he played that shit and it came on, I just was like, "Oh my god, he was right." So even when Red Alert used to play it, I used to be like, "Yo,"
That
he
was the
said that
song.
was so clever. That was so clever to do that. Like he didn't think it was gonna come on either. So it just surprised everybody, and I was happy that even that song got to be on that record. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of heavy hitters on that album, and I'm glad we got to be on it.
What was your relationship like with Lord Finesse, and how did he get on the
Man,
album?
well, Finesse is like one of our mentors in a way of such where, you know, when you know MCs like him, I mean, like just the word know him, you know what I'm saying? Like we grew up listening to all his music, and I say grew up because I think about, you know, all the first records that I heard I have of him, you know, and then to know that he and Buck is in DITC, so you know him knowing Buck, it was just like eventually we're gonna work with Finesse too, you know, and just being an artist coming into it, and you getting to meet guys like that, you know, we respect him, you know, as an MC period. But then to know he's an MC and a producer too, it was just like double threat, you know. Finesse ran up on us. We was coming out of the New Yorker hotel at the Zulu Nation anniversary party, and we was coming outside of the hotel. It was raining. I don't know how the hell he saw us. When we came outside, it was kind of storming, like, and we trying to get into the train station. He just pulled up, was like, "Yo, I got something for y'all to hear." This is like in the rain, so we couldn't get in the car. So me and Tame stuck our head in the car, and he played that beat, and we was like, "Oh my god!" So all I heard was the rumble of the bass line. So he was like, "You know what? I'm gonna send this to you. I'm gonna put it on the CD, but y'all gotta get it from Reef." So I was like, "Okay, cool." So he got the CD to my man. We got it from him. He had the beat almost like as a skeleton, almost, but he told us, you know, when we meet him in the studio, he was gonna fix it up. There's a version of that song with just me and Tame on it, and you know, just because we was eager to do it, we just eager to impress him, and just like went out our way just to get there. We had didn't sit down with him, no ideas of what we're gonna do in the song. We just went in, sat down, went in, and we just like recorded. And we was like, "Okay, you'll go." He said, "We got no structure, nothing like that. Y'all trying to go wild on me right now." He said, "Let's just put this together the right way." So when he said, we're gonna come back and we're gonna do it in a structured way. I said, "Cool." And with that being said, I called Jamar. I said, "Jamar, look, we couldn't get you on the album with the wrong side of the tracks hook, but we want to get you on a verse with this." And he heard that beat. I went to Brooklyn and went to the crib. He said, "Yeah, I'm on it. Let's go." So even just, you know, I don't want to spoil what the next question gonna be, so I'm gonna be quiet because I want to tell y'all how that was being in that room in the studio that day.
Yeah. Why Lord Jamar?
Jamar was one of the more important pieces to the puzzle of Artifacts, you know, becoming an artist in so much of a way where he was an artist himself. We met him on 125th Street, and we went from Jersey to this was an MTV thing. Lord Finesse, Brand Nubian, Moni Love was there when she did a freestyle with Finesse on stage. You know, she had the red champion sweatsuit on. So like this day was like we had to be there, and when just to see them, you know, and they doing Drop the Bomb. Pooh was not there, but they doing Drop the Bomb. Feels so good, and this is when the album about to come out, and when they got on stage, you know, we was screaming like we knew all the words. People in the crowd looking at us like, "Damn, y'all know them like that?" It's like, "No, we know the records. We know the records." So they come out and they on the you know, just out there chilling. And we walked up to them. I ain't care. I said, yo, my name is MC Elder Sensei. This is my man Tame One. We from Jersey. I got a Walkman. I ain't made no bones about it. I just, talked to him for a couple of minutes and then asked him to listen to the demo. He liked what he heard. He didn't have to give me his phone number. I gave him my number. But he said that day he felt something from me and Tame and a couple of my friends. And he, that was his, later on to find out that was his first like fan moment as an artist, us coming up to him not knowing me and Tame was going to turn out to be who we were, as far as artifacts, but he took interest in us. We used to, go to New Rochelle and just hang out at his crib, him and his brothers. He used to take us to shows with them just to see how it was to be out with them and just learn the ropes. And one day we got to doing some music, and Jamar pretty much is the reason why Wrong Side of the Tracks even exists, because he did the first version of it. There's a version on YouTube, demo version, and it's on vinyl as well. Jamar did the track. He did the hook. We was in we recorded it in Sadat's basement and his house. And before we did the song, Jamar was like, so like, we just finally we about to do something. He said, what do y'all do? Like, what's like, and this is like, okay, we do graffiti, we still b-boys, and we blah blah blah. He was like, okay, so write about that. And when he said that, that's when we sat down and wrote Wrong Side of the Tracks in Sadat basement, recorded it in his basement. But the sample couldn't be cleared because it was a James Brown sample. The version that you hear today is what we changed it from after Jamar recorded it first. So even with the hook, we couldn't catch them to do the hook. They was traveling around Brand Nubian. So I had to do the hook. So when you listen to the song, Jamar originally says the hook, and I just repeated what he said, and the label was like, okay, don't say from the wrong fucking side of it, just say regular, don't curse. And we was like, okay. So, and it's dope that even all this time to be friends with Jamar, knowing what he did for me and Tame, like we didn't have to be in his house. Sadat didn't have to invite us in his basement. They didn't have to take us to those shows, so to be working with both of them and me and Sadat to be doing shows and albums and records together is like a 360 thing for me. And it's just like, I'm forever grateful for them. They had us on MTV Raps and everything. So I won't forget that.
What was it like working with Mr. Walt?
Man, Walt, my dude, man. Like, see, like being a Brooklyn fan and Boot Camp and Smith & Wesson, and these people were who we wanted to work with. So when we knew Walt from just going to Brooklyn and doing in stores with Boot Camp and then later just me having relationships with them on my own and them having a radio show at the crib at the time. I used to always go over there. So it was like being a fan of their music, we had to work with them. Even beat miners wise with Baby Paul doing the ultimate, and getting hot. That record was dope. You know what I'm saying? We got exactly what we wanted out of them, but a brighter version of music than they did with their crew. So we got a different thing from them to be on the Artifacts record, and we didn't call them to do a boot camp type of beat. It was a free record. It was a feel good record. We got a remix with K-Def. These people who I'm naming, we're fans of as knowing production and knowing these people as artists and hearing their own music. You want a piece of that as well. So Walt was definitely a important ingredient on the second album. Him and Evil D.
At what point did Tame One started getting in production, and how did he end up on this album?
Well, Tame, my man Rhino did the track for the Ingredients to Time Travel. Tame co-produced that. And again, Rhino is the one who started us all off as far as when we in New Jersey working with him. So him and Tame got together, and that song had to happen because that's how I met them. So it was only right that Rhino be on the record with us and be on the Tame giving him the track. So that's how that happened.
From the first album to the second album, what adjustments did you think you made personally, kind of trial and error, did you see on the second album?
Well, at the time that the music was being made with Sean J, like he was our secret weapon, kind of sort of like, we had always a long list of producers we want to work with, and I think with VIC and with B Miners and Sean and with Rhino, it just really brought like the vibe of what the time was. But they all gave us missiles that was more of a platform for themselves as producers coming up. Vic working with us was outside of Beatnuts, outside of all of the things he had done prior to that. So, to have him do This Is the Way and do the interview, the interview was like a lot of people's favorite song. Like, even when you don't think about it having a hook, it just, for some reason, I don't know what the vibe of that beat and that song is, we didn't even need a hook. So we really just, a lot of these components to that record, we made it, the most change was just the speed of the songs. The speed of the songs, and like, a lot of the scratching chaos that we didn't have a lot of cuts in the first album. Chaos was that part that we was missing as well. We wanted to have a certain element in the record where, when you listen to Primo beats back then, that was not even say the hot thing to do, but we needed a permanent DJ. We needed a DJ with us in the group to say, this is the one, we do the rhymes, he do the cuts, and we got a gang of producers to do the beats. And a lot of these things, mood wise, when you listen to these songs, Sean J. Perry gave us a palette of beats that was so different from one guy. When you listen to Who's This and To Your Chest, when you listen to Where Your Skills, I mean, just even Where Your Skills at, we watched him, replay some of these beats too, like as far as like artifacts. He didn't want to sample no more. My man learned how to play, and he knocked that whole damn thing out just like the way the record was, and that was the thing I appreciated about Sean, watching him bring all this strange stuff in the studio, was that he was trying to make sounds that was not being heard before. When we did Return to the Wrong Side, he taped his whole train ride from home to Manhattan, just that whole background, the train sounds and the doors opening and closing, people talking. That was just one trip from Brooklyn to Manhattan, and he incorporated it in the song. And I remember when I was in the studio with Busta, and Q-Tip came in, and they was about to mix the Ill Vibe song. And when Q-Tip came in the room, I was playing that Return to the Wrong Side. So when you pay attention to the sample or to what Sean was doing, it was like the bass line would start boom, 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 boom. But then there's these licks that's boom, 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 boom. So Q-Tip is walking around the room, boom, 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 boom. And then it's just boom, da-dum, da-dum, dum, dum. Now he's walking in the corner of the room, and he's just standing in the corner doing the plucks every time. But he noticed the bass line kept changing, either going up but he seen it was going up and down. And he came out of the corner, yo, who the hell produced this beat right here? And I was like, oh, my man, Sean J. Perry, blah, blah, blah. He's like, I heard about him. And then look what happened, Body Rock. Can't make this stuff up, B. Can't make it up.
How dope is that?
Wow.
Sean got a lot of flowers after doing a lot of those beats, man.
Wow.
He was in sessions with who's who of producers, like you say, Sean J. Perry, Lord Finesse, Baby Paul, Mr. Walt, VIC. Personally, for you, what was your favorite session making this album?
Okay, so yeah, the collaboration of mics, man, like everybody was in that room. Finesse was, of course, was there. Marky was there. Showbiz was there. Fat Joe came and brought a DJ. This dude was a huge dude too. I didn't know if it was Mike Smooth or not, but this dude came in the room, and Chaos ready to start doing cuts, and he was about to do the beginning. So Fat Joe said to me, yo, my man go do the cut. It was like no talking after that. He was like, yo, my man right here is doing the scratches. Like, so I was like, okay, well, Chaos, do the beginning, hurry up, do the beginning. So I don't know what's gonna happen. So my man, big man, gets up and starts practicing, and he's doing the cuts. I was like, okay, he's super nice. I'm not even mad. I don't know what's going to happen, but I ain't mad at him. So Chaos, he did his cuts. He sat down, and my man did the cuts right there before we even started recording. He laid all the cuts down just so he could sit down. We was like, oh shit, okay. So like, you know, one after another, everybody got on the mic, and you know, and we actually, I think, if I'm not mistaken, we did this song on the day they had the Million Man March.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not mistaken. Wow. I think that's very true. So we knocked the song out, and we were watching. After it's all finished, I'm looking at everybody in the room, and Fat Joe remembers me and Tame in a sense where we saw him in Central Park at Stretch and Bobito's show, where they had this big anniversary show, and he saw me. He said, "Oh, what up?" I'm like. So he's like, oh, I'm like, oh, you remember? He said, man, after that session, you think I'm gonna forget y'all? That song was too damn fire. He said, yeah, what's good? I was like, oh, that is what's up. That was a minute ago. So I haven't seen him like a lot since then. But that's his memory of me and Tame, you know, a couple of other times when we recorded the remix for the Ultimate. And Showbiz was like, you know, Fat Joe and them, Juju and them was in the side room. And I don't know, you know, that day we could have got it done, but then he was like, look, y'all look like y'all. I was like, yo, y'all want to come back? Is it a distraction? Because there was some girls in there, and they in there smoking. There was a lot of noise, and so we was like, all right, we're gonna come back. And Showbiz's exact words to me was like, yo, I seen y'all work with Buck, LP, Finesse. Now it's my turn. It's my turn now. So I want y'all to be comfortable. So we got to stop this and then come back the next day. And the next day is how you hear the Ultimate remix. Is because we came back because he knew that he wanted it to be right. I respected him for that, and you know, that to me, you know, when I think about that night, even with Showbiz, and I think about that night, you know, there's a lot of nights. Even Buster, we did the remix, and he was just looking at me and Tame Notebook, and he just kept walking around like, "What y'all got? What y'all got? What y'all got?" So we go in the beat like, "El, come with me in the booth. I'm gonna do my verse." So I mean, he's in the booth. I'm in the booth standing next to him. I continue to deliver flows hot. He's straight up in my face. Hot. What's the problem? Give me bossy flows. Hot. Yes. I continue to give the flows hot. I'm like, all right. And yo, bro, it was so crazy. You know, because like you only, you know, you hear the dude on a lot of his own songs and being a fan of leaders. Yeah. Now you in the booth with him. This our second single. You know, so like these things, you know, studio wise are like dreams. You know, you have memories of them. We ain't take no pictures, nothing like that. We just have memories of them. So they are pictures in my mind that I know that happened. But I remember everybody that was there. Rampage was there. You know, it was just you know, we was in a unique studio in Manhattan. And these things you never forget that in your career, unless you tell these stories like I'm telling right now.
Nice.
With the completion of this album, was there anything missing? Let's say a producer you wanted, an MC that couldn't make it for whatever reason. Was everything coming along according to plan with that album?
Yeah, I mean, guest-wise, we wasn't. I mean, back then you were only in your group. You know, you wasn't thinking about getting features. You know, to do records with you. You would just knew. We knew it was just me and Tame. You know. If it was only one feature, we always try to do is get Reggie on the joint. You know, we always felt like that. Even when, and it was a version of Coming Through Your Block that had him rhyming at the end of it, but somehow it disappeared off the track when we got to putting it together. But I knew that existed. But like, yeah, like, you know, I mean, there's a lot of people I like to work with that I work with just being a solo artist. But back then, album wise, we were just trying to prove to people that what we did the first time wasn't a fluke. We were never thinking like, well, we need to get such and such. We need to get this. We knew that was either going to cost money, or we didn't know the people we were thinking about was going to even work with us. So we was like, that's impossible. Let's just keep doing what we're doing, stay on the path, and work by ourselves and just be artifacts. And you know, but then later on, we got to see that people did want to work with us. And a lot of times, if you got the money in the budget, I think we would have probably did a lot of things.
Right. When that album finally came out, what was the general public saying when that album dropped?
Okay, so the Artifacts single was out, and a lot of people loved that. We won a battle of the Beats a couple of nights in New York, Hot 97. That record, we wanted to shoot a video for that, but a lot of the things with the label wasn't working so good. So we pretty much was like, we're gonna keep moving. We ain't even really, gonna think about what they were gonna do or what we can't do, and we just kept it forward.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. So what were the magazines saying? Like the Source?
Now I will say, a lot of the reviews were good, but a lot of them weren't like the first. I'm gonna say it wasn't like the first album, but a lot of people try to compare the first and the second album, and I really say it was hard to do that because they both sound different. It's you're never gonna top your first, record unless you work with more people. But I feel like we stepped up a little bit to where we was maybe ahead of ourselves. So when you hear a lot of the records that came after us, whether if it was working with Sean J. Period or High Tech, a lot of the music that was coming out to the Rockets Machine, sounded like a little bit of the records that we was doing, as Artifacts. We listened to Erykah Badu and all this stuff coming out. When you listen to On and On and you play Artifacts at the same time, it's that rim shot. And I remember when my man Evil D brought it to my attention. He said, "Yo, you don't hear that?" I was like, "Hear what?" He said, "Yo, listen." And I was like, "Oh, I hear a little something." It was just the bass line changed a little bit different, But he said, "Man, I feel like it sounds so similar to that, But that was the energy we was giving out to, like, when you have that movie that's made that when it came out it was like so, but when it got the cult following after that, so and it's never going to go away. So every time it's going to come on, you're going to watch it. Every time you hear it, you're going to love it. A lot of times when I listen to the record, it was a few times me and Chaos was listening to it, and because after that record, me and Tane split up, and a lot of times me and Chaos would be on the road, and we do so many songs even when I do my solo shows. So when he was here, we was in Memphis, and we was at my man crib. We was in the basement. My man let us chill down there, and we played that record. We were sitting there smoking. Had red lights down there. And after the record went off, me and Chaos looked at each other like, "God damn, that record was so dope!" but it was so ahead of a lot of things. And I think people probably wanted to think that we was going to come with the same sound as we did on the first one, but you can't do that. So we wanted to make a record totally different from the first one, but show a graduation of what we wanted to do and what we pretty much listened to as artists as well. Because you can tell we listen to Tribe, and whether P Rock and CL Smooth, Mac and the Soul Brother, De La Soul. We are fans of people of that style of music. So us working with certain artists and producers, where we can so much get that sound for ourselves, but coming from New Jersey, that's why I think a lot of European artists and New York cats, pretty much everybody all over, we get a lot of love in Cali, because our music is pretty much not based in, there's no New Jersey sound. So it's just really just us being underground artists. I would fit that because that's everywhere. It's an underground DJ, underground. Somebody got some underground in their name and whatever they doing, but I always feel like that's part of, who we are and what we present.
Right. Does this seem like it's been 25 years since that album dropped?
No, because when you still performing, and even like a couple of years ago, we did a video for Artifacts and put it out, and people thought it was a new video, and when they was like, "Oh my God, that's so dope! Y'all did a new video for an old song," but we never had a video for the song, so it wound up working anyway, and I was glad, we got Chaos in there, to still see him in that video is really made me feel good because that was a good day. We were in Brooklyn. It was cold as hell, and we filmed it, and it came out dope. Shout out my man Last American B-Boy for shooting that. I never thought that 25 years would go that fast. I got two sons. One is gonna be 19 this year. My oldest one's 27. Wow. And my oldest was born when we put the record out. You know,
Right,
so
right.
it's like when I look at him, that's how old my record is. When I see him walking around the crib, so, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, damn, I'm that old. My record career is that old. So, you know, it's a blessing that, you know, people to this day still geek off those records because, like, you know, a lot of these songs we do on stage, I know when we do Where Your Skills At, Tame look at me like, you ready? I know that's going to be one of the hardest songs for you. I got your back. Let's go. But when we get into it, it's so fun because it's so much he said in that song. You know, we do Flex It with the Tech. We do the Ultimate and Ultimate Remix. We do a lot of these songs because people don't know we're going to even do these songs, you know, in the first place. You know, these are songs we have as hits, but they know we got a first album and a second album. But I would say the second album, show-wise, these songs are more fun to do because they're faster than the first album. And sonically sounding, those records give me more amped to do on stage, you know, because I know how they sound when they come on, you know, compared to the things we were using in the beginning, as far as like machines and, you know, just like the going into using the computers from using the reels, you know, is a big difference in the sound when you even doing the songs on stage. Like you can hear the warmness of the tape and the What's Up Now, motherfucker, and you know the wrong side of the tracks. Whether if it was taken from vinyl or it's not digital now, it's not on the computer. So when you listen to the first album mix wise compared to the second album mix wise, it is such a difference. It's such a difference. The clarity is totally it's like hiss and no hiss.
Well, we'd like to congratulate you on another milestone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Before we get out of here, it's 2022. Catch us up on what Elder Sensei is working on.
Okay, so first off, there's a reissue of the second album on SmokeOnRecords.com. The cover was redrawn, my girl Andrea Martinez, and it looks exactly like the first cover, but she hand drew it with pencil and everything. That is on SmokeOnRecords.com. You probably get a poster in the inside, maybe a 45. It's a couple of things come with that. But you know, this year with Smoke on Records, y'all gonna get an Artifacts record, whole new album produced by Buck Wild DITC, 10 songs. I was told, I mean, this COVID messed up a lot of stuff. So, you know, we had a lot of the records be like pushed back, you know, just waiting for the records to come in. But I was told probably in a few weeks we're gonna have this record coming. And this is what we need to be. This is what we've been waiting for. You know, everybody want to see what we sound like now. Y'all gonna be surprised. Y'all gonna be happy. You're gonna be satisfied. You know, we really went back to the beginning. There's a lot of scratching, a lot of bass line, drums. You know, this is New York sound with a Jersey feeling, and we pretty much thought of everybody that was waiting for this record to come. So that's in the immediate. I got like 4 albums that's dropping by myself. First off, my man Tony Galvin, may he rest in peace, producer from Miami. He produced a whole album. I got Moni Love on that record, Cy Rock on that record. My man Scam, that does the artwork, he's on that record. Yeah, man, my man Dynas is on that record. You know, this album for me with him was probably one of the best produced albums I've had in a while when it comes out. Tony will be very proud of this record, and I'm dying for everybody to see the videos we shot and the music and what it sounds like. Very, very, 90s strong, new, but sonically sounds big as hell for the way records are made today. So we took it back a little bit, but with a new style.
Any more plans to do another album with Sadat?
Oh yeah, definitely. We working on double XL right now. So we went from XL, and we're going to the double XL shirt. So everybody be ready to fit that one in a minute. We're getting beats together now for that. So shout out my big bro. X is out in North Carolina right now in Raleigh. And yeah, we working on that right now.
Tell us a little bit about the merch game.
Yeah, see now that's my man Def Projects. He did that train for me. We took it back to the wrong side train. A lot of the merch, which I'm wearing right now, the sweatshirt we got is this, yeah, the one with the patch, that's them patch on the sleeve. I got t-shirts, I got hats, 5 panel snapbacks. I got some bucket joints now. You know, a lot of this stuff is just for when anybody that want a piece of it. I had a dream that being tamed to the show, everybody in the crowd has something, artifacts on their body, whether the shirt, a hat, but the whole crowd had it on. I woke up like, oh, we're gonna make that happen. We're gonna make that dream happen. You know, there's a lot of people that come to me now when they see somebody with something on, whether they're in Australia or somewhere far or somewhere near. It made me feel good because I know with them wearing that, especially with women, because you know how women in hip hop are. When guys see women with hip hop stuff on that they know is like sports. They once they know that they're into it, they can be like, oh word, oh I love you, you into hip hop. You know about artifacts. Oh my God. So I have female friends, they be out on the street and dudes blow the horn at them. I'm like, what you know about that? What you know about that? So this is like everybody that wears to tell me the same thing. Everywhere they go, like, oh, you don't know how many people would ask me, like, what you know about artifacts? I'm like, why is that? I don't know why. But I just let people know, man, I thank them for wearing it because, you know, we're only, like this dude told me at the label, you're only as good as your last record. So I really believe that. And you're only as good as your last show. It's really visual for people to see you, to be able to see that you're active. So with me and Tame, especially with myself, we're always on the road. You know, I have a tour actually happening starting next week with me and A Plus from Hieroglyphics, my good brother from the Bay. We're gonna be in New Hampshire. We're gonna be in Connecticut. We're gonna be in Springfield, Massachusetts. We're gonna be in Virginia. We're gonna be in North Carolina and Charlotte. We'll be in Atlanta. And we're gonna be in Asheville, North Carolina. But I'm gonna be in Denver coming up in July. I'm gonna be in Grand Rapids, Michigan with my boy Six Man. In June, we're gonna be in New Mexico on the 28th. Atlanta, we got a show out there on the 25th of May. So I'm just trying to stay busy, and this is just as much as, you know, trying to spread that merch out there. Every city we go to there's gonna be a table. So everybody, I always tell them be prepared. I may not have everything because like some of the stuff you can't travel with because you don't want it to break. But definitely they can get at me on my Instagram page. If you need anything on there, hit me on the DM. I'm always on there. So there's no, yeah, there you go. The show running right there. Yeah, right there, my name. Let me see if I put my hand right here. Boom, right there. So yeah, man. You know, I appreciate y'all even having me on here because this is what it's about. This is what it's about. Because if we can't talk about none of this stuff, nobody knew we exist. So
that's right. That's
you know,
right.
I
That's
appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Appreciate the opportunity. Like I said, congratulations. We got one more question before we get out of here.
So hip hop is getting ready to turn 50 years old, man. What are your thoughts and take? How do you feel about that?
Well, me being 51 myself, you never know how long you're gonna be in this. You never knew how long hip hop was gonna last, and it has outlasted a lot of music that's not as popular anymore. When you don't have CD 101 station no more, you know something gotta give. Something gotta give. So that means hip hop is everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you know, I like that people have adjusted and also learned that in hip hop there are different divisions of it, whether if it's you know, made up, whether if it's trap, conscious hip hop. I don't like that it's all different, these different divisions, but whether if it's whack, whether if it's good, you see how big it has become. It's become a market for yourself where it's not even controlled by the labels no more. You can be free to be who you want to be. But I always say the same thing that will apply is to promote your music. You know, invest in yourself as an artist. This is what hip hop has given us 50 years later. It has given you an option. If you still want to work with the labels, work with the labels because everybody need a home. You know, to do this by yourself is very hard. You know, to do this on your own, it takes a lot of money, it takes a lot of patience, a lot of discouragement for a lot of younger guys that may not understand. There's still things that you can do groundwork wise to get the bang for your buck. It's just you got to think like that time frame and understand that everything you do represents your brand. And when you fuck that up, that brand goes down. So has maintained the brand of music, maintain a brand of standards in our music, and even as individuals to still be in it, you have to thank hip hop for that, because we wouldn't be able to be who we are. As I will say, a lot of artists, we are all superheroes that put on capes and go on stage and go in the studio and go in the booth. It's just that when that's over, a lot of artists got to understand when to take the cape off, because you're not going to be a superhero all the time. Spider-Man is Peter Parker sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you can't be a superhero with your costume on running the streets all the time. So, it's easier to look at yourself as an individual who trying to do the same thing a lot of artists may be doing. Never look at yourself to say, I'm not doing as much as the next dude doing. Keep your blinders on. You got to be like that horse that's only seeing straight, because you will not. If you look at what everybody else doing, you be distracted. Your music going to sound like theirs. Put that shit on, put your earmuffs on, and just go forward.
Right.
Very dope, man. Here at Changing of the Hip Hop Guards, SIN-SEER and myself, we like to represent that true hip hop feeling.
Mm-hmm.
We would like to say thank you to you and the Artifacts for always providing that dope soundtrack, providing that hip hop true feeling for us and fans around the world. Thank you for joining us, man. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Man. Thank y'all. Salute to y'all, man, and keep doing this. People need to see stuff like this, and it needs to be online and broadcasted to the fullest. This is where we get to show our resumes, and without y'all, we wouldn't be able to spread the word. So, Changing of the Hip Hop Guards. Y'all are the guards. Let's make it happen, y'all. Peace. Thank you very
so
much.
All right.
Peace. All right. Peace.
Thank you so much, Al.
25 years.
All right. Hip hop.
No doubt.
All right.